Hello and welcome to Hybrid, powered by chinkseyMEDIA. Turkish has just done an interview with his friend and colleague Matisse Armani, in which there's a segment where he details and addresses for the first time really the reasons behind or what happened that led to his departure from Aftv. So I'm just gonna toggle to that segment and react to what he's saying, because don't forget, I gave my opinion on what I felt happened, and well, let's see if I was right with anything I said.
It's a pleasure if you can be able to do it, like you said, because not everybody can do that. But if you can separate what is, it's artistic, it's creative. This, yes, we're talking about football. Yes, it's, you know, the other side's not pushing the other way. It gets kind of blurry quite quickly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's interesting because you said as well that obviously with your son now, you've been able to step back from things, and one of those big things that everybody will kind of look at you for was your time at Aftv, and you was there for a very long time. Before I was even on social media, I'm actually in this football space, I was watching your fan cam. Did you get, some people watching this, they didn't get the closure, I guess, that they wanted from your exit, because they would have watched you build chemistry, talk about chemistry, and the people that you worked with on there, and the shows that you're a part of. You're part of a lot of stuff. We talk about, you know, box to box. We talk about the previews. We talk about the watch-alongs. We talk about, you know, I remember going to, and the absolute outpour of love and dedication and emotion towards not only, you know, you, but to us as a group, because of what you had been a part of. Because really, you know, that was an Aftv kind of circle that we were in at the time, and it was Arsenal game. And I'll ask you afterwards about whether you got the closure that you wanted and the exit went the way you wanted it to go. But does part of you kind of regret that the audience maybe didn't get the closure? Would you have liked to have had a last show?
Yeah, because I mean, the way Turkish announced his departure was like a bombshell at the end of the Big Six show that like literally shook YouTube. It was big news for about, probably still is big news, but I'd say for about 2 weeks it was like the hottest thing on, it was the hottest news in football media or even media. YouTube shook the whole, you know. But even still to this day, it's been, what, a good 6 weeks since it happened. You know, people like myself, a lot of people other than myself will be intrigued to hear what he's going to say now.
Being able to...
Yeah, that is an interesting way to put it. I think Turkish doesn't want to kind of give anything away to suggest that he's upset, to suggest he's angry. And as I alluded to in my previous video, I don't think he is. He doesn't need to be. At least now he can focus more on his son, which he's already alluded to, because he's got more time. He can focus on his channel, his own endeavours with the Big Six, with Turkish LDN, which he probably puts out a couple videos a week, 2 or 3 videos a week, with a very blunt title, you know, probably 4 words in the title. He gets the views, innit? A very good football contributor. And obviously, he can kind of determine how much he makes. He doesn't have to have a boss, let's say, where there's a cap on your time, there's a cap on your wages, you got to do this for the company. He can focus on his own endeavours, his own family, his time, and focus on growing the brand that is the Big Six, which is huge in this football space. Probably the number 1, to be precise.
Just didn't care. Back and it ended the way it ended, and that's what it is. You know, I don't really, you know, have any regrets, or I wouldn't really change anything, in my opinion. You know, it is what it is, and you move.
I've always felt, though, that, like, just how personality-wise, he's Turkish, strong character, alpha male. The same goes for the head of Aftv, Robbie Lyle. I always had the sense that I don't think they really liked each other like that, if I'm being real. If you're asking me objectively, I think it was just a strictly business relationship. You know, it was... And I feel like the clash of personalities worked well with the show that they had, which Yardman's now obviously looks like he's taken over. He's only done 1 show. But clearly there was that loggerheads, I believe. From an outsider looking in, there was that loggerheads for many a time. And I just feel like, you know, that's the way it is sometimes. Everyone's got different personalities. You don't get on with everyone. And maybe it was for the best that they've gone their separate ways. And yeah. All right.
Yeah. That's interesting. Because obviously I remember you saying on the Big Six didn't end well. And I'm wondering, you said that in regards to people watching this, they'll be like, are we ever going to see Turkish on camera.
And then when he does, I'll give my opinion as to how likely I do think that is to happen. But one thing I will say with Robbie, absolutely not. And I find this interesting because even in my last video, I did say, at the time anyway, that two people would know what would have happened, and one of which was Curtis Shaw, and the other one is the gentleman that's asking him the question, Matisse Armani. So I like the way he's asking the questions as if he doesn't know what exactly went down, considering he works on a daily basis with Robbie at DR Sports. He's employed full time there. And then obviously on the other hand of things, he's friends and colleagues with the man he's interviewing, Turkish, on the Big Six. And you can tell that they're friends. You could just see it. So it's deeper than work. It's deeper than an interview. It's proper. So obviously he's going to know the ins and outs. But obviously he's not going to say anything, is he? That's for behind the scenes. Bow!
If certain people on that, say a Robbie, say a Lee, a Curtis, are we going to see you with those guys again? Is that something that you've thought about? Is that a potential? Is it kind of just letting things kind of calm down and giving it a bit of time and then kind of going back to it?
I like the way he swerved it. He's going to do the... Turkish is going to do the... What's it called? What footballers do? The political thing, when you don't address a question direct. He ain't trying to get drawn out like that, because anything that comes out of his mouth is potentially a headline that's just going to do a madness. People like me clip things and make things go viral. But no, all jokes aside, the fact that he didn't answer, because I interview people as well, the fact that Turkish didn't answer within the first 5 to 10 seconds, that you're going to get a kind of media trained answer or not a direct answer to the question that was asked, which is fair. It's his own prerogative to do that. All right, let's hear what he says. By the way, he said Louis Theroux. I believe he's a mainstream interviewer.
Listen, the Turkish team's good, by the way.
You said, and then he's trying to come with this whole... I don't hold on to grudges or anything. Like, would we work together? Like, I've spoken to Lee. I've seen Lee since it all happened.
Yeah.
He's asked him, would you be willing to work with Lee Judges, Robbie Lyle, and Curtis Shaw? So far, he's addressing Lee Judges. So from what he says, it appears that there's remains some form of relationship and potential for working going forward. But the other two, let's see.
And I'm sure that's going to happen. In terms of Robbie, we just haven't spoken.
Yeah.
And that's not just since it's happened, that's since before it happened,
Okay, interesting, yeah. I mean, I know the character of Robbie, and he's like that. He's like, a strong character. He does things his way. No one can tell him nothing. And how can they? He's Don Robbie, as he calls himself. But Turkish will be viewing things the same way, which is why I mentioned earlier that I believe there was at loggerheads. It's a clash of personalities. Two bosses, which I don't think Turkish is a type of individual character that should be in an organization where he has a boss. He's a boss in himself, so it makes sense however it transpired that he's left, it's beneficial for him anyway that he can now focus on his own endeavors and not have to potentially quarrel with someone that, I personally think maybe, there was a clash of potentially AFTV wanted him to do XYZ and that doesn't align with what he can do or wants to do. Maybe they want him to film on a Tuesday, but he wants to spend more time here. Or maybe they're only willing to pay XYZ, but he believes he's worth this. I think, or probably a combination of a lot of things. And I just think he just got tired of it. And I personally think he decided to leave. And from what he said, it doesn't seem to have been... It just seems to have been that him and the head of their channel just kind of grew apart, and it probably was a falling out of some sort, but not necessarily a blazing argument, just the fact that they just stopped talking to each other, and then no one's going to make this first move. Like I said, two bosses, no one's going to try and liaise. You need a middleman to do it at best. Someone like a Curtis Shaw, whether he's still friends with Turkish remains to be seen, because that's something I've been actually monitoring, because they usually have a OG show that they do, but since Kurdish has in quotation marks replaced him on Forever Arsenal, there hasn't been one of those. So I'm thinking if there's not an OG show at some point this year, then it'll be interesting to see if they might have fallen out really in a way that, like I was saying with what I think happened with Robbie and Turkish, that they just probably just don't talk anymore. But who knows? It's just all speculation.
So there's nothing there that I see will turn around. He's stubborn, I'm stubborn. He believes what he believes, I believe what I believe. And
Yeah, so basically summarising what I said, like two strong characters, no one's gonna go to the other and say, talk about it. Nah, it's not gonna happen unless someone kind of, mediates, but I doubt that's gonna happen. Nah. It's over, buddy. It's over. It's over, lad.
that's the way it's going to be. I'm stubborn, he's stubborn, that's it. But in terms of just generally, like, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I've noticed is there's a lot of people that are kind of in the middle that you'll see hop on Turkish's platform, and then the day before, the day after, they'll be on Aftv. There's a lot of them. I don't need to mention the names. You'll see them. So it's like everyone's just kind of, whether there's a war between two people, it's not, the people in the middle are neutral, so they don't have to take sides. So he's already mentioned one person's name who's right in the middle. And even Matisse is in the middle, like I mentioned, because he works for Robbie at this point, and he's a key figure on his channel, which he seems to be focusing more on in recent times. And then obviously he's close friends with Turkish, so it's like there's a lot of people in that kind of realm.
I was getting a lot of messages about Forever, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to say it, and it came out the way it did. Do I regret that? No, I don't regret it. It didn't end well. But 2, 3, 4 weeks later now, whatever it is what it is. I've moved on, they've moved on.
Yes, definitely. It was this time last month. Trust me, I was in the middle of all this Ferrari. So yeah, I'd say about 5 weeks, yeah.
Maybe it's...
See, that's the bit I don't get, where it says there's been no closure, there's open ends and things like that. That's the bit I have no idea what that means. That's so ambiguous, could mean anything. Open ends. Because he did say that at the time as well, where he said it was still unraveling, but I think if we don't get anything from here, if we don't get a kind of better explanation from this interview, I don't think we ever will, to be fair. I think it'll just be a thing where everyone moves on, and next year's a new year, and everyone just goes on to their new ventures.
You need to focus on him.
It's a different type of work, isn't it? Because like, if you was to say in any normal situation you leave a job,
the truth behind why Turkish left, the real reason why he left, what happened, the war between Turkish and Robbie. Yeah, man. No, it did cause a stir on social media. It was big news at the time, man. It was brazy.
Right, what's going on?
well, you was on till 20, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now you're not. Now you're on till 7. What's going on right now? But I guess because of that viewership and that support and that love and that, like I said, they're just so, you are part of so many people's day on a daily basis,
Okay.
and it's so difficult for them to kind of change. No one likes change. You have your favorite TV show or your favorite film, and they drop one of the main stars, and suddenly now they're like, what's going on? I want an interview. I want something. I want someone better tell me what's going on. I think because we're like that, but music, it feels like that side of things, the traditional creative stuff, is kind of not.
Yeah, I feel like we're in a new phase where like things like this, things like podcasts, online, YouTube, TikTok, short form content, even though this is long form content, is we're kind of moving away. So the new normal will be normal. I say give it a kind of 3-4 year period. However that transpires, that's going to become the new normal. All this old school stuff, TV, EastEnders, we've moved away from all that. That's all now archaic. This is like, yeah, we're in a new phase, I'll say.
What it was, at least in your time, in my time, the quality of it. And I'm not saying we've replaced that, because that's wild, but, in replacement of some of those things.
Yeah.
So you're like, you're probably, maybe, I don't know if you think about it, how big you are to some people's daily routine or their life. I mean, you've just launched Loose Cannons. So I was going to ask you about, because obviously you was on Forever, you launched Loose Cannons, obviously you have
that phrase, come with you, is going to be addressed in the next 10 seconds. Came with you, like you've all, like one's left, is like, oh, I'm going with you, I'm out of it.
Because you never really see that in this. I had a little thing with All You Can Eat Chelsea where people were so surprised they gave it to Miz. They were like, what's going on? We never really see people give away a podcast that they started and give it to their friend, and I explained that. But when you do something for years and you wake up at 8 a.m, you told me you told me the new timing for it, right? And you build that chemistry. Just how much does that mean to you, that pod?
James and come with me.
Come with me. Big man, like Jordan's 50, James is 30. Coming with you. Interesting words. their situations and encounters led to their decisions. It's interesting though, because I've always wondered this with Jordan. Was always like kind of part-time-ish, and I'd suggest he's probably a freelancer. Jordan works for Channel 4 and has done so for a number of years. So I've always wondered how it works with that, because to be able to employ someone that already works for Channel 4 and TalkSport as well, I remind you, it's interesting how that works out. But don't forget, it gives you potential links to things like TalkSport, because it's like a kind of mediator. So if Jordan's already working for there, he can potentially line up things for Robbie. Not that he needs it, but it's, you know, it's a link, it's a contact there. But in terms of James, who funnily enough is also on TalkSport, and William Hill, I noticed, it's interesting. I've always wondered, I reckon there was a falling out, and I reckon it was something between, similar to Turkish, where I believe it was either conflict of interest in a time sense or financial sense. That's what I've fallen on. That's what I'm going to stick with, I believe, because I've noticed a pattern that James was on it less and less. You know, his main show, Tactical Insight, was dropped, I believe. And to be honest, it's a show I like personally, because I'm an analyst just like he is. But I always did think it was going to get dropped just for the fact that it's such a niche kind of podcast, and it's probably not going to be to the likening of the typical Aftv target audience. And as a result, that's going to kind of be reflected in the views. So for it to be viable, it'll be difficult. And obviously, that was, as soon as James left, it was inevitable that Graham Brooks had to leave. One, because that was the only show he was kind of on. An amazing analyst as well. And James always used to mention how he was the main kind of organizer of the show. So also, yeah, I just feel that it's good that James is now focusing on his own IP, as Bouncer says, on intellectual property, his own podcast, and it's flourishing really well. I always check his shows out, and it's doing well, so he can focus on his own endeavours and try and grow and be his own boss.
Been tied in after that, right? Every individual, someone at the organisation contacted me and said, you know, we're looking for a podcast type of piece of content, but
bingo, I knew it. So actually, if anyone's seen my previous video, and it was all guesswork, by the way, what I said. Every word I said was all guesswork, and from me observing the channel for years and years. But I did say that Turkish was brought onto AFTV, brought onto the Forever Arsenal podcast, because they saw what he did with his Big Six show, and they wanted to replicate it on that channel, which is why he hosted it. And he's going to literally say that almost word for word.
Okay. AFTV app, someone comes. So I said, all right, I'll have a think about it, get back to you. Give me 3-4 weeks later, it was January 21. Yeah, so I got back to him. I said, all right, this is the idea I have in mind. I'll be the host of it, and then we'll have 3 other guests, but we'll have 5 people to pick from. Right? So there's a bit of rotation to it.
Yeah.
The 5 people being James, Jordan, Lee, Mo, and Helen. Good to go. We launched it, James, Mo, and Lee. And
frequently, I didn't know about the app. I knew they had an app, but I didn't know that. So basically, when the app was more of a prominent theme in their kind of content, I didn't know about that. So this is news to me.
We were doing what I needed to on the app to be sustainable, and then eventually the choice was made to move it over to YouTube. Which I was in agreement for. You know, the content, the vibe is just completely different, in my opinion, and the fact it's streamed as well, considering how much studio stuff is on the channel AFTV.
Yeah.
I thought it's something different. It's something easier. It's something quicker on the mark after games, which is important in my opinion. That whole Monday, Thursday format for Big Six, no one was doing that before we did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for forever, you know, I was thinking of similar things. And just, bro, listen, I you know, the panel, I made up the panel when the Mo situation played out, and there was a space. Some of the recommendations, I mean, if I left it in certain hands, the pod probably would have finished there. I brought in Jordan, you know.
I didn't know of Jordan before that.
Yeah.
I mean, was he doing content before that? Where did you
So I met Jordan
scout in there?
outside the stadium. He was
Okay.
Channel 4 News. He came and interviewed me. Channel 4, maybe 20 2019, 18 maybe, around then he interviewed me, we just exchanged numbers. I brought him in on Supporters Club.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he was originally on Supporters Club, which was my first show on the channel.
Yeah.
When they was doing stuff in YouTube Studio. I brought a lot of people through on the Supporters Club, because that's what it was about for me. It was about, listen, this is a new thing, like, let's mix it up and see. But forever, yeah. Jordan come in, you know, hit the ground running, and then, you know, the pod was still getting the love that it deserved to get. I think, you know, the chemistry, everything, whether it was with Mo at the time or whether it, you know, it's with Jordan since, it's been top. And, you know, not only did I pick the panel, but I recorded the show, I planned the show, I uploaded the show. If I need to edit something out, I edited the show.
Yeah.
I done the thumbnail for the show. Yeah, I did the description if I need to do that.
Okay.
So it felt like
yours.
Yeah, it felt like similar to Big Six.
Yeah.
You know what I was doing early days.
Yeah.
It was just me behind the scenes doing everything.
Yeah, we used to clock in and go.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. So I understand what he's saying about like all this DIY stuff, because I'm doing it now. Like this thumbnail that I've done for this video, I've done myself, and the editing. So I know exactly what he's saying. So it's like, especially when you're a starter and trying to get things off the ground and up and running, it's all DIY. And then obviously when you grow, then you start employing specialists to do X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I definitely hear that.
What was going on around? I was doing
now we hear these things on Spotify.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just, you know, so I was doing the same thing, but I enjoy it, and I see something in it.
Yeah.
So forever, you know, the fact that it's not the same anymore. Obviously, Lee was a big part of it.
Yeah.
But you know, it was sad in my opinion. It's not. I'm not gonna moan and cry.
Yeah.
It's not about moaning and crying. You gotta move and shake.
That's your
what you
saying.
gotta do.
Okay, it's interesting though how Turkish made it clear all the things he did with regards to the Forever Show, which I knew that he was the kind of the planner of it. He got everyone together. He got the talent together. He got obviously he picked the right characters, with Jordan, a divisive character with his own views, then James, the more kind of technical analysis of the game, of the team, of football, Turkish being the host, and then obviously you got Lee, who's a match goer, older fella, you know, geezer. He's kind of wears his heart on his sleeve sort of character. So it was a good mix, good blend of people. But obviously the fact that he kind of was doing thumbnails, doing the X, Y, Z, kind of makes me think that it's financial based, or there's an element of a financial element to financially and time wise, or both, I think is the reason why he's no longer there. That's just me. That's just a educated guess based on what I'm hearing.
That's your saying.
You got to move, and that's what it's about. I put a lot of work into Forever. You know, I think it could have been, you know, as big as a Big Six in terms of one club level.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Six is open to multiple markets, whereas Forever is limited to one club. But that one club is the biggest club on social media,
Yeah.
the ones that have the most fans clicking, and you know.
Yeah,
awesome.
true.
So I saw great things for it. So you know, the fact it's ended the way it's ended, and now it's not the same. There's, you know, a pod here, a pod there.
What he said is definitely right, because, and you know how you know he's definitely right about Arsenal generate the most clicks and things. Look around at your favourite fans or football content creators of other clubs and ask yourself, do they post Arsenal-centric videos or titles? People like Mark Goldbridge, people like Saeed, people like Matisse, and so on, even Henry. There's loads of them. And everyone will mention Arsenal in their titles. Whereas if you now ask yourself, do the Arsenal top gooners, as they call themselves, do the top gooners make titles or videos based on other clubs? And in general, absolutely not.
It is what it is, you know. It is what it is.
I have to ask as well, like, on these pods you take up like a host role, and then on the fan cams that's like
Bow!